I've always been a big believer in the weekend reset. Living in Atlanta, the traffic and the noise eventually just get to you, and by October of 2023, I was at my breaking point. I'd been working 70-hour weeks as a designer, and I just wanted to take my girlfriend, Maya, somewhere where we couldn't hear a single car horn. I found this place on a popular rental app. It was a modern A-frame cabin tucked deep into the Blue Ridge Mountains, about 20 minutes outside the actual town of Blue Ridge, Georgia. The photos were perfect. Minimalist furniture, floor-to-ceiling windows, and total seclusion. I paused for a second, looking back at the listing now. I should have realized the price was a little too good for that much privacy. The drive up was beautiful, but the GPS started getting glitchy the further we got into the mountains. We finally reached the cabin around 4 p.m. It sat at the end of a long gravel driveway that looked like it hadn't been graded in years. The host, a guy named Marcus, had messaged me earlier saying he wouldn't be there to greet us. It was a contactless check-in, which I usually prefer. He seemed friendly enough over text, but he was, a bit much. Before we even got our bags out of the trunk, I got a notification. "I see you made it safe. The mountain air is crisp today, isn't it?" I figured he just had a motion-sensing doorbell. It's a standard security thing in the US now, so I didn't think twice about it. I texted back a quick thanks, and we headed inside. The interior was stunning, but there was one weird detail. The cabin had a small laundry room just off the kitchen, and at the back of that room was a heavy, solid wood door. There was a small, laminated sign taped to it at eye level. "Host storage. Do not disturb. Private area." It was locked with a heavy-duty deadbolt. I remember thinking it was a bit overkill for a closet full of extra towels and light bulbs. The first night was quiet, almost too quiet. If you've ever lived in a city and then spent a night in the deep woods, you know that the silence actually rings in your ears. We had some wine, cooked dinner, and watched a movie. Around 11:30 p.m., Maya went to bed, but I stayed up to finish some emails. That's when I noticed the smell. It was faint, but unmistakable. It was the smell of stale American Spirit cigarettes. I'm an ex-smoker, so I'm sensitive to it. The cabin was strictly non-smoking, and Maya doesn't touch the stuff. I checked the vents, thinking maybe the heater was blowing in old dust, but the smell seemed to be coming from the laundry room. I walked in there, sniffing the air, and realized the storage door was cold. I mean, ice cold, like there was an air conditioner running on the other side of it. I brushed it off. It's an old house, and insulation in these mountain cabins can be hit or miss. I went to bed, but I didn't sleep well. I kept having this feeling, you know the one, like you're being watched through a gap you can't quite see. The next morning, things got uncomfortable. While I was making coffee, I got another text from Marcus. "Hope you enjoyed that bottle of Cabernet last night. It's one of my favorites." My stomach did a little flip. We had opened a bottle of Cabernet, but we hadn't mentioned it to him, and we hadn't left the bottle outside or near the windows. I paused, trying to convince myself I was being paranoid. Maybe he just leaves that same wine for every guest? Maybe it's just a lucky guess? I told Maya about it, and she laughed it off, saying I was just looking for a reason to be stressed on my vacation. But then, I saw the laundry room door. I specifically remember closing the door to the laundry room before we went to sleep, because the dryer had a blinking, clean filter light that was annoying me. Now the laundry room door was wide open, and the private storage door at the back. The deadbolt was still turned, but the door wasn't sitting flush in the frame anymore. It was open about 1/4 of an inch. just enough to see a sliver of total darkness on the other side. I walked over, my heart starting to thud against my ribs. I reached out to push it shut, but then I heard it. From the other side of that storage door, I heard the unmistakable sound of a phone vibrating on a hard surface. Psst, psst, psst. Then a muffled voice, a man's voice. "Yeah, they're still here." I froze. My hand was hovering just inches away from the wood. The voice was so close, maybe 4 or 5 inches from my face, separated only by that thin pine paneling. I didn't breathe. I didn't move. I just listened. I heard the sound of fabric rustling, like someone shifting their weight on a sleeping bag. Then, the sound of footsteps. But they weren't walking on floorboards. It was a hollow, thumping sound, like someone crawling on plywood. I could feel the blood draining from my face. I backed out of the laundry room as slowly as I could, making sure my socks didn't slide on the hardwood. I went straight to the bedroom and woke Maya up. I didn't want to scream and alert him, so I put my hand over her mouth and whispered, "We have to leave. Now." She looked at me like I'd lost my mind. I didn't explain. I just grabbed our car keys and her jacket. I told myself that if we just got to the car, we were safe. We left almost everything. Our suitcases, our laptops, the rest of our food. It didn't matter. As we were walking toward the front door, my phone buzzed in my pocket. My heart nearly stopped. I pulled it out. It was a text from Marcus. "Going somewhere so soon? You still have 2 nights left on your reservation." Maya saw the text over my shoulder. That's when the reality hit her. We bolted. We ran out that front door, scrambled into my SUV, and I floored it down that gravel driveway. I didn't even look back until we hit the main road. We drove 30 miles to a brightly lit diner in a neighboring town. We sat in a booth, shaking, trying to figure out what to do. I called the police, but since it was a rural area, they told us it would take an officer a while to get to the cabin. They told us to stay where we were and wait for a call back. While we sat there, I started thinking. My engagement ring. It was a family heirloom, my grandmother's diamond. I had hidden it inside a small velvet box tucked deep into the pocket of my hiking bag, which was still sitting on the kitchen counter of that cabin. I knew it was stupid. I knew I should have just let it go. But I couldn't. Maya was safe in the diner. The sun was starting to come up. I told her I was going to meet the police at the cabin to get our stuff. I told her to stay put. I drove back. By the time I got there, the sun was peeking over the ridges, making the cabin look peaceful and normal. 2 sheriff's deputies were already there, their cruisers parked in the driveway with the lights off. I walked up to them, explaining the situation. They looked skeptical. People hear things in the woods all the time. One of the deputies, a guy named Miller, followed me inside while the others stayed by the cars. The cabin was exactly how we left it. My bag was on the counter. The wine was on the table. "The laundry room," I whispered, pointing. Deputy Miller walked in, his hand on his holster. He tried the host storage door. It was locked tight. He pulled on it, but the deadbolt didn't budge. He looked at me and shrugged. "Seems solid to me, son." "I heard him," I insisted. "He was right there." Miller looked around, then noticed the heavy industrial dryer. He saw the small mesh vent cover on the wall behind it, the one I had noticed earlier. He pulled the dryer away from the wall with a loud screech. Behind the dryer, the drywall had been cut away. It was a perfect rectangular hole hidden by the appliance. It led directly into the hollow space behind the storage door. Miller turned on his heavy mag light and shone it into the dark. That's when the air in the room felt like it turned to lead. It wasn't a closet. It was a crawl space that had been carpeted and lined with foam padding to dampen sound. There was a sleeping bag, several empty water bottles, and a pair of binoculars. But Miller's light stopped on something else. In the corner, there was a loose floorboard that had been pulled up. Tucked inside that hole was a thick black Polaroid photo album. Miller reached in, pulled it out, and flipped it open. There were hundreds of photos. All of them were of people sleeping. Different couples, solo travelers, families. They were all taken from a high angle, looking down through a small, hidden slit in the bedroom ceiling. Then, Miller flipped to the very last page. There was a photo of me and Maya from the night before. We were fast asleep. But in the photo, there was a hand, a pale, thin hand, resting on the pillow just inches from Maya's head. And next to that photo, pinned to the page, were my car keys, the ones I thought were in my pocket. I reached into my pocket and pulled out nothing, just a handful of lint. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.